Hey guys, it's Kasera, and today I'm going to be doing the start of my March reading vlogs. I decided to start my March reading vlog a little bit early on the 1st of March rather than waiting till the Sunday for the 3rd of March. But as it turns out, I can read a lot over the course of 2 days. Like, I finished 4 books in 2 days and I had a lot to say about them. So I decided to just do a really quick 2-day vlog to give you guys this content because my next week's vlog is probably going to be pretty big. So I finished some really good books this week, so I hope you enjoy seeing my thoughts on them. So it's Friday, March 1st. I decided to start my weekly reading vlog a couple of days early. Femme Fatale is going to start on a Sunday. I'm very excited for it, where I'll be reading only fantasy books written by women, which is fantastic. I am definitely down for that. Until then, I do have some other books that I want to try and read before that. It is also day 1 of 31 in 31 for March, and today I did finish a book. I finished Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. I only had like a couple of hours left in the audiobook, so I knew I would end up finishing it today, and I really enjoyed it. I did not know if I would enjoy it as much as the first one, and I didn't give it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars, and I think part of that was just the first one surprised me a lot. I wasn't expecting very much from it. I had much higher expectations for Sea of Monsters because I really liked the first one that much, but I did really enjoy the second one. Like, the ending was just so well done in the second book as well. I'm kind of like surprised at how well done the plots are in this book. I think part of the reason is I always have like lower expectation for middle grade novels because they're written for like 12-year-olds. I don't expect them to be as good, but for some reason I feel like the plots in middle grade novels can be even better than YA novels sometimes. I don't know. Do you agree with me on that? Let me know. But I really enjoyed Sea of Monsters. After Sea of Monsters, I decided to start on the audiobook for The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi, and I have already DNF'd it. It's not because of the book though. If I'm being honest, I was actually really interested in what the book itself, like the content of the audiobook, I thought was interesting, and I do want to read it, but I really hate the audiobook. I really hate the audiobook. I do not like, it's kind of full cast because there's 2 different narrators, but I don't like either of them. I feel like neither of them are very good like voice actors, and they're just really annoying to me. And a lot of times when that happens, like just speeding up the audiobook and making it go faster so you don't notice the voice actors as much helps out, and you can still listen to the audiobook. But for some reason that didn't help at all, and I can't continue listening to it. It was just annoying the crap out of me, and I wasn't even paying attention to the book anymore because of how much I didn't like the narrators. So I decided to return the audiobook to my library, and I will be putting the ebook on hold. So it'll be another like 2 months before I get the ebook, so it'll be a long time before I get back to this book. So I'm probably gonna read some of her other books first because I own some of her other books already. So yeah, so I'm not gonna continue on with that right now, but I will choose to continue on with it later. Also, I've made a lot of progress with Mad Ship. I'm vlogging that one separately, but I wanted to let you guys know, like, I might finish that one tomorrow, even though like it's an 800-page book that I started 2 days ago. I might end up finishing that one tomorrow, so don't be surprised if I do. It's still Friday, but I made a lot of progress on Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I am now on page 215. That's more than halfway through the book, and this is my unwrapped book for this past week, so that means I officially get to keep this book. So far, I'm really enjoying this book. I really like the way this book is written. This is YA contemporary as it should be. It's complex, it deals with difficult topics, but it does it in such a simple way that is easy and compelling to read, and I just really love it. I had thought that I'd grown out of Sarah Dessen, but I still really like her books. So I'm really enjoying this, and I'm excited to continue on with this one. I'm almost done with this one. I'm almost done with it, so I think there's a good chance that I'll finish this one tomorrow, if not the next day. I'm definitely definitely really enjoying this one, and I'm glad that I get to keep it. So I figured since I finally get to keep that one for sure, I should probably unwrap my book for next week. I'm a little nervous about this one just because I'll be participating in a readathon, so I really wanted to read only fantasy books written by women this week. So I'm hoping this fits into that category. If not, tomorrow is Saturday, so technically the readathon hasn't started yet. If this is not a fantasy book written by a woman, then I could potentially try and read a good chunk of it tomorrow so that I won't have to read it during the readathon. We shall see. So it is written by a woman, but it's not fantasy. This is Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I'm a little nervous about this one. I am gonna try and read this one tomorrow, but it's kind of thick to read in one day. I did start this book, like when I first got it. I think I have a bookmark in here. I think I saw a bookmark, yep. I got this far into it. That's a receipt. Yeah, so I got this far into it the first time around, and I DNF'd it because I thought it was kind of snooty and pretentious. That's what I remember feeling about this book. So I will start this one tomorrow. Hopefully I can finish Once and For All tomorrow and I can get started on this one. So it's Saturday, March 2nd, and last night I finished Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I hadn't planned to stay up and finish this book, but I was just so compelled by the storyline and was really enjoying the book that I ended up finishing it. Like, I think last night I mentioned, like, this is YA contemporary done right, and I still 100% agree with that. All of the characters are real people. Like, they have flaws, they have good traits, and you get to see all of their different traits as we go through it. It talks about like topics that are difficult to talk about, but in simple ways that are easy to understand. And all the character reactions are very realistic. I think for me, what brought this book over the edge, there were two things. One, in romance novels or like novels with romance as part of like the major part of the plot, a lot of times they can be boring to me if I don't feel the romance aspect of it, like actually feel it. There's plenty of books that I can get behind the couple and all of that just based on all of their personality traits, but I don't necessarily feel the romance between the two people. And with this one, I definitely felt it. So that definitely helps with this one. But I think what really, really sold me on this book was the setting, or what I like to call world building, which I do realize this is not a fantasy book. World building is a term that's generally used for fantasy and sometimes sci-fi books. But for this one, I really felt like Sarah Dessen was creating a world. Not just the fact that she has like her own websites that she uses as social media rather than calling our own website social media and all of that, but it was just like, I felt like I was standing in that world. I could practically smell the coffee in the coffee shop where there's a flirty bartender and the lonely, loud-mouthed cell phone person in the corner always talking too loudly on their cell phones. Like, I could feel the atmosphere as I was in this book. And I feel like a lot of times we don't get that as much as we did when I was younger. I don't know. For me, this was just such a really, really great read, and I don't know how last year I ended up DNFing it because this was really good. I ended up giving it 5 stars because it was such a fun read. It's a little bit slower than YA books that you'd get now just because there is all the atmospheric elements to it. There's a lot of subplots and like details in there that you don't really get in like YA contemporary now, but I definitely definitely loved it. And I'm very happy that I didn't unhaul it last year. I did decide to start Gone Girl. I'm cheating just a little bit because I got the audiobook for this one. It's not really cheating because I generally just tend to read books like this on audio better than in physical form. I like to have the physical book so that I can go through and read the physical book as I'm listening to the audiobook. But I remember starting this book, like, I think it was when it first came out, like a few years ago, I started this book, and I just remember thinking like all of the characters were super pretentious, and I DNF'd it after like 10 pages. Like, seriously, 10 pages. I was like, these characters are so pretentious and I hate every single one of them. Well, I'm already further into it than I was then. I am over here on page 44. If I want to keep this book, I'm going to have to be on page 207. So that's right around here. So I'm going to have to read this much, and hopefully I can get that done before Femme Fatale starts. So that's today. With the audiobook, I can definitely get that done before Femme Fatale starts. I honestly don't know if I want to keep this book though, because like I still have the same feelings about it. I feel like all the characters are super pretentious and I don't like them. But at the same time, I know this is a really great twist ending. Like, I've heard so much about the twist at the end. I'm pretty sure I know what the twist at the end is just because people spoil this book all the time. Like, people spoil it all the time. And I haven't gotten actually spoiled for it yet. But I have, like, an idea of what people are spoiled for. So, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. But I kind of want to finish it just so that I know if I'll like it or not. I don't know. Gillian Flynn is an author that I'm interested in general. So, and this is her most popular work, I think. At least this is the first one I remember hearing about her. And she has a lot of other stuff out now. And I didn't end up reading Sharp Objects last month, which I had planned to do. I ended up returning that one to the library. So I do kind of want to read this one. For me, endings are big. Endings like make or break a book. So I know this one has a good ending. If I like the ending, I might be Gillian Flynn's next big fan. But if I don't like the ending, I could potentially really hate this book. So I don't know. I want to get to the ending just to see what I think about it. So I've been struggling a bit with Pride and Prejudice. So I decided to get the audiobook for it on Audible. I got the Rosamund Pike adaptation of it. There's a lot of different adaptations of this one, but I heard that one was really good. And by the way, I really, really like it. So now I'm on chapter 36. And I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm so glad I decided to get the audiobook for this one because the audiobook is really good. And I am enjoying this one so much more on audio. For some reason, like reading the words on the page, the language bothers me. It doesn't feel natural while I'm reading it on the page, but in audiobook form, like I can listen to the audiobook and follow the page and it feels natural. If you know anything about the chapters in Pride and Prejudice, then you know I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to like Mr. Darcy a little bit, so yes. I'm definitely enjoying this one. I'm hoping that I can finish this one today. It's either this one or Gone Girl. One of them I'm going to try and finish today, and I'm pretty significantly more into this one than I am into Gone Girl, so I'll probably try and do this one today and maybe listen more to Gone Girl, but I have a lot of time today to listen to audiobooks, so that's probably what I'm going to do. I'll probably follow along with the physical book, at least for Pride and Prejudice. So yeah, that's my plan for today, and I will see you guys later. It's still Saturday, and I just finished Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. There were other things that I should have been doing today, and I had the audiobook, so I could have kind of done a lot of the other things, but I found myself sitting down and following along with the physical book just because I was really, really engrossed in the story. I'm in kind of a reading high right now, in case you couldn't tell, but yeah. I really, really loved this. I don't, like, last year I read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I read it on audiobook, or I listened to the audiobook of it, and I liked it. I thought it was good. I enjoyed the audiobook, and when I started reading this one, like, as a physical book, I really did not care for it. Like, I didn't not like it. When I was reading it, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't something that, like, I was engrossed in and wanted to pick it up. but the audiobook just made this so much better. Like, there are parts at the end, for example, like when her mother is like exclaiming all of these things and it's like exclamation point after exclamation point after exclamation point. If I was just reading the physical book, I would have been so annoyed with her mother. But with the audiobook, I was kind of like laughing at her mother going, oh, Mrs. Bennet, that's just, it's her character. Like, that, it works so perfectly. So I absolutely love the audiobook for this. I got the Audible version, so it's Rosamund Pike is the narrator. She does a fantastic job, and I love this book. It was really well done. I think I have to give this one 5 stars because I really, really love this one. I'm so happy that I read it. So I realized that the issue that I had with Pride and Prejudice, I had the exact same issue with The Two Towers. For some reason, both of these books have very similar writing styles, at least in my head. And it might just be because they were published in similar times, I think. I didn't actually check the dates on that. But what bothers me about these books is that it's not the narrative. I actually really enjoy the narrative. What bothers me is generally the dialogue and sometimes the character thoughts. I guess it's punctuated in a way that doesn't make sense to me. But as audiobooks, it doesn't bother me at all because you have the narrator that is kind of adapting it to seem more realistic, I guess. So I actually really liked it as an audiobook. So because I liked Pride and Prejudice so much, I decided to try and find an audiobook for The Two Towers because I have looked for audiobooks in the past for The Two Towers, but all of them were dramatized. So I decided to check Audible. And they had an audiobook for it, but I didn't have any credits for Audible anymore because I've already used my credits for the month. So I ended up checking Scribd, and they have the same exact version as the Audible version because Scribd has like 3 or 4 versions for Lord of the Rings, for all 3 of them. But they have the same one as the Audible one, which is not dramatized. It's like 16 hours long. And I was so excited for it because I was almost done with this. And I just spent the last few hours and I finished The Two Towers. And The Two Towers, movie-wise, was one of my favorite movies out of the 3. And I loved the book. By the way, Smeagol or Gollum, he's my favorite character. But I started liking Sam a lot in this one. And I never really cared for Sam in the movies. So, yeah, I definitely understand why people who read the books like Sam more than I ever did. So I really, really enjoyed this. I also give this one 5 stars. Like, I didn't expect to give this one 5 stars. And like, I kind of want to go back and reread Fellowship of the Rings by listening to the audiobook because this was really good. I really, really liked it. And like, I was struggling with the first half of this. I did read most of this as a physical book. It was only like just the very end that I got on audio so that I could finish it. I really, really like the audiobook for this one. So if you haven't checked out the audiobook for this one, definitely should. I really, really liked this version of the audiobook and highly recommend it. So yeah, another 5-star book and 4th book that I've read this month now. 4th book that I finished this month, let's put it that way, not read. All of them I had already been like significantly into before I finished it. So it's the day 2 of the 31 and 31 and I finished 4 books so far. Really quickly, tomorrow is the start of Femme Fatale readathon, which is reading fantasy books written by women. I'll be pausing on a couple of my books that I'm currently reading. So Caliban's War, which I'm sad to pause on, but I will pause at least until next week, even though next week is like the rereadathon, but I can read some regular books during the rereadathon. I just have a lot of fantasy books written by women that I want to read. So I'll pause on Caliban's War and I'll be pausing on Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. I managed to finish the other 2 books that I had that were not fantasy books written by women. And then I was supposed to get further into Gone Girl today, but I was like more interested in the other books that I was reading than I was in Gone Girl. So I haven't gotten very far into it at all. This will be my only exception to the fantasy books written by women. I will be listening to the audiobook for this one. I will not be reading it physically, listening to the audiobook. Once I get through the 50%, I'll switch to the fantasy books only, and then I'll finish the book next week if I want to. I might just choose to DNF it. I don't know. But I kind of want to get to the end of that one because I want to see the twist at the end and how that's portrayed. So it is the evening of the 3rd now, and this will be my last day of the vlog. I managed to finish part 1 of Gone Girl. So I'm right smack dab in the middle, which means I'm more than 50% of the way in, and that means I get to keep Gone Girl for the week already, which I'm very excited for. Also, I told myself, since this is not a fantasy book, and I'm gonna be participating in Femme Fatale this week, meaning I should only be reading fantasy books written by women this week, that I would only read up until part 2 of this book, which will allow me to keep it, and then on next Sunday, I will continue on with this book. But of course, part 1 of this book ends on a massive cliffhanger, like massive cliffhanger. And I'm like weirdly invested in this book now. Like I was really enjoying reading it all day, well, listening to the audiobook of it all day long. And now there's a massive cliffhanger. I think I know what happens though. I don't know what the cliffhanger is, but like I have enough of an idea from things that I've heard of other people say about this book that like I know what the twist at the end is, which I don't know if I'm happy about it. We'll see how well it's done. And depending on how well it's done, maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't, but I kind of want to continue on with this one because I want to know what the cliffhanger is. Like, it's not like I could just turn a couple pages and see what the cliffhanger is. I'll have to read the whole first chapter of part 2 and then get to the second chapter before I can figure out what the cliffhanger is, which I'm also really excited to read these fantasy books. So I'm gonna go and read the fantasy books, and next Sunday I will come back and talk to you about this cliffhanger because I will definitely get to it by then. So over the course of these few days, I managed to finish 4 books. The first book I finished was an audiobook, and that's Sea of Monsters by Rick Riordan. I really enjoyed this book. It is the second book in the Percy Jackson series, and I really, really love the first one. I really enjoyed the second one, and I definitely plan on continuing on with the series. The next book I finished is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. This book really surprised me. I didn't realize that I would like it as much as it did, but like I've been saying, this is YA contemporary romance done right, and it was just such a breath of fresh air, and I really loved it, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. The next book that I finished is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and I have to give all the props to this one to the audiobook because the audiobook was phenomenal. I absolutely love the audiobook, and this story is... it's so good. I absolutely love this story. Definitely love the audiobook. I absolutely love this story. And now I kind of want to read a bunch of Pride and Prejudice retellings because I have a feeling they're going to be amazing. So yes, absolutely, absolutely love this. And I ended up giving it 5 stars also. And last but not least, I also finally, 8 months in the making, I finally finished The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien, and the last like 20% I listened to the audiobook and spent a little bit time following along with the physical book as well, and definitely the audiobook definitely really helped, but I still really love the physical book for this one, and I enjoyed this so much. Did you know that this one ends on the cliffhanger? I did not know that The Two Towers ended on a cliffhanger. I don't remember that from the movies, but apparently it does, and it's so good. I absolutely enjoyed it so much, I ended up giving it 5 stars. So yes, I had a really great reading weekend. 3 5-star books in one weekend, and a really good 4-star book as well. So March so far, off to a really great start. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I post videos every Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, sometimes more than that, so consider subscribing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!